More on Arthur C. Clarke a little later, but we start with the return to the mysterious world of Royston Vasey. Alan Bennett once told me the BAFTA-winning BBC Two cult comedy series The League of Gentlemen was his favourite TV show, and he wished they'd bring it back. The small fictional northern town was inhabited by the kind of creepy locals found in the British screen horrors of the 1960s and 70s, where newcomers disappeared and the local butcher sold special meat to local people. Part The Wicker Man, part Hammer Horror. Now the show is back 20 years after its original radio incarnation and 12 years after the one-off film, The League of Gentlemen Apocalypse. It once again stars Mark Gatiss, Steve Pemberton and REECE SHEARSMITH, who all share writing with the fourth unseen gentleman, co-creator Jeremy Dyson. Familiar faces return as the town feels under threat.
They're doing what?
Apparently, the county are moving the boundary line to exclude Royston Vasey. It'll bring down crime statistics, unemployment figures, missing persons. Yours are the highest on record.
Well, at least we're good at something, eh, Murray?
The League of Gentlemen return, and Jeremy Dyson and Mark Gatiss are here. Welcome to Front Row. It's been 12 years since the film. Why did you decide to go back to Royston Vasey now?
We did it for Alan Bennett. He wrote us begging letters and begging postcards. Well, we've been talking, we never actually split up. We're like ABBA. We just decided not to do anymore, and then we thought we'd like to do something again. So we've been talking for quite a few years.
We kept having dinner. Yeah, we kept meeting up in Islington near Marks and having dinner. And after about 4 of these, it sort of coalesced into it happening.
Decision. Yeah, and then we just thought we needed to sort of put the time aside and just do it. And it's been a really lovely experience because we've just done it for fun. We're not doing it because anyone's put a gun to our head. So they might do now, but that's been the nice part. That's been the nice part about it. Yeah.
Well, what's really interesting is, so many of the characters are so horrible, disgusting even. Why do you think people want to watch them again? Because we do.
Well, I had a sort of strange epiphany watching it again, because, you don't tend to watch your old work, and we all put it on when we were preparing to write and to make it. And I realised how lovable a lot of the characters were. Genuinely lovable. There's a kind of warmth there, even as they're murdering, dismembering and doing the most appalling things. And I think I realised it was about the performance as much as anything. It was about there's 3 very, very warm actors who are very lovable in themselves, and it's a bit of a pantomime thing of no matter how awful the things are that they're doing, at the heart of it you've got these very warm characterisations.
What about you, Mark? Do you have any favourites?
They're warm, I'm hot.
Do you have any favourites?
Oh yes, very much. I love playing Les McQueen.
Remind us.
He's the failed sort of 70s and 80s musician who was in a band called Creme Brulee, which had a flirtation with the Eurovision heats and not much more. He's back. And Mickey from the Job Centre. But as Jeremy says, it's about that they're sort of sacred monsters, Pauline and Edward and Tubbs, and that they are sort of strangely lovable. I mean, that's why people seem to like the show. So it's an awful lot to do with finding a kind of humanity there, but also the strange thing about our show is that the mixture sort of shouldn't work. It's curious. It's like sort of broadly farcical and silly, and then full of sort of Ken Loach pathos. It's quite gothic and weird, and then also quite touching, And I think that sort of broad spread is what people always responded to about it.
The homicidal siblings, Edwards and Tubbs, who run the local shop for local people, at one point say we're taking back control.
Do they?
Yes. So how did you feel about how far you were going to incorporate Brexit into the show, Jeremy?
Well, we were never a satirical show before, or a topical show in that sense. The thing is, it was impossible to avoid as we were conversing and preparing and thinking. So it wasn't like a conscious decision to sit down and let's do it. It was in the air. You were breathing it with every breath. And because it overlaps with, a local shop for local people, which was always the rallying cry, you couldn't not do it. You know, you sort of had to. It was an imperative. And the interesting thing is that Tubbs and Edward were born out of a real experience, which was in one of our very first live shows. We before we were even called the League of Gentlemen, we were performing at the Commedia in Brighton, and we went to a Rottingdean, which is a little village just to the right of Brighton, and there was this tells you everything you need to about the League. I remember there was a wishing stone there from when I'd been as a kid, and we thought, let's go and see this wishing stone and all make a wish. And we went, and then there was a little gift shop, and we thought, well, we'll just go in this gift shop. And there was this terrified old woman behind the counter, who we were the most polite young men that you could imagine. We weren't thugs, and she cowered as we came in. And yes, what do you want? And that was where Tubbs and Edward.
I remember coming out and REECE going, I have a husband, you know. And we were just laughing about that, and that's where it came from. You know? So that attitude. Yes, it was always there in embryo.
Did you drop any characters?
Well, just briefly, Jenny, sorry.
Sorry.
No, you're
intrigued.
She's interested.
Actually, can you save that? Because that's something I want to bring up later. But I wanted to bring up Barbara, the trans taxi driver, is back, and the whole context is very different, isn't it? Let's have a listen.
This cab is a safe, friendly, mutually respectful, and above all, tolerant space.
Of course, Barbara. What pronoun do you use?
Well, if you don't know, you can piss off out of it. I'm not telling you.
Mark, real gender politics have made their mark even in Royston Vasey, haven't they? Again, that felt like you were deliberately going there.
Yes, I mean, we had a lot of discussions about how the world has changed, and there are things you think, well, it's a long time ago, an awful lot has changed, but there are also things that you still feel should be, you can lampoon, or to me, the sort of, some of the wilder extremities of gender politics create a kind of madness where almost nothing is capable of being said anymore, and I think that is still an area where there is a room to have a laugh, you know. So
and
that's
also, the gender politics isn't really about gender politics. It's about something else. There's something else lurking underneath it.
One of the first things we see is Mark Gatiss with his giant...
Don't give it all away!
Oh, I'm not allowed to say anything.
It's on at 10 o'clock. That's a spoiler. It's an official spoiler.
No, it's a good
With my
point.
gigantic
You're
watch.
dressed as an older woman, and we see everything, including a giant merkin. I mean, what's that about?
Well, that's a back reference to the original show. And we always loved the fact that we were the first show, to our knowledge, that did nude drag.
That's true.
And
weirdly never done since.
No, can't think why.
I do it live.
I mean, well, this is actually perfect. Jeremy Dyson and Mark Gatiss, thank you. And stay with us. The 3-part series of the League of Gentlemen starts tonight on BBC Two at 10 p.m. Continuing, it's stripped across tomorrow and Wednesday in the same slot, yes. But you're going to stay with us because we want to talk more about how the lines are shifting and what's acceptable in comedy now. And Jenny and Claire very actually hinted forward to what we will discuss. Our audience is becoming more sensitive or more rightly critical.